Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ian is a Weirdo. Today I'm going to be going through a tutorial for 3 different sizes of the Starfleet insignias, and I made this originally to add to the costume top that Crystal Hook That Yarn made, and I made one size and I wanted to make a smaller one for pet costumes, and I thought this was a little bit large for most of the costumes. Especially for my cat, so I made one even smaller. I know this is on the wrong side, and it's because this is just a draft, but this was off center, so it just made sense to put it on this side, so don't judge me. I know where it goes. But let's do some quick measurements, and then we'll get into the pattern. So this is the first size, and it's a little over 3 inches long from top to bottom. This is a pattern that is not reversible, so using the back, you get your pattern backwards, and it doesn't really make as much sense. And then I didn't think that this side looked as good, so that is, this is the first. I call it the human size in my pattern, because that's kind of what I intended to do with it. This is the slightly smaller size, which I called the large pet size, and this is a little bit smaller, so it's not a whole lot smaller, but it's like 2 7/8 inches long, so just a little bit shorter than the first one, but enough that if you were doing like a large pet, or you were making it for anyone smaller who doesn't need a communicator badge that's this big, you could go with this size. Or if you're making like a headband, anything, like any reason, I just felt like it would be cool to keep that size in here. And then for my cat's sweater, this one is 1 3/4 inch tall, and is much smaller than its original pattern. So this is what I'm going to show you today on how to make these 3 different sizes. If you want a written pattern, it's available on my blog, and I'll also go through the different stitches and stuff that we use there. So to do this, you'll need a 4-weight yarn. I'm using a 4.5mm hook for the larger 2 badges, and a 3.5mm hook for the smaller. You can change your yarn size, you can change your hook size however you deem appropriate. This is just what I did for the pattern. If you're going along with Crystal's pattern, you know that she used a 6mm hook for her yarn, for her project, but I felt like it needed something a little bit tighter for the emblems, so that's what I decided to do for this. Also, I know that this is on the wrong side, and this is all crooked. This is just a rough draft of the cat version, so don't judge me that I put this on the wrong side. I did it on purpose because this was askew, and so I figured I had extra space there, might as well. So anyways, you're going to need a stitch marker. This is optional, but I do find it really helpful working in the continuous round. You're going to need scissors or snippies. You're going to need a yarn needle to sew the end and to sew the badge to your project, and yeah, you'll need just one color yarn, because I find for patterns and for showing off patterns, I like to use this Mexicana or Mexicana yarn from Red Heart Super Saver. I find it's a little bit easier to follow, then you can see exactly where the stitches are placed. So I'll be using that. Okay, so we're going to start with what I'm calling the human size. This is the largest one. You don't have to be a human to wear it, so that's just what I called it. So with this, and with all of them, we're going to start with a magic ring. You can do a double magic ring if you prefer, but I don't think that it's particularly necessary. Maybe with the other 2, especially because they have more stitches in the magic ring, it might be necessary, or you might prefer it, but I think that there's not enough tension pulling the ring outwards that it's going to break. especially when you leave a long enough tail to sew and reinforce the ring. So it's really about preference there. Also, if you like to skip a magic ring and you like to do a series of chains, connect them, and go into the center chains, you can do that as well. I can never get them to tighten, and I think that this project is really important to get everything nice and neat and tight. So if you can get them tight with the chains, go for it. So I'm going to start with my magic ring and my 4.5mm hook. And for this one, we're going to do 9 single crochet into the magic ring. So I'm going to check to make sure I have the right numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to tighten up my magic ring just like that. And I'm going to put the stitch marker in the first stitch of the round just so I can keep track of it a little bit easier. But if you don't like using stitch markers, then you don't have to. That's totally up to you. So in the first stitch, I'm going to place 1 stitch marker. Sorry, in the first stitch, I'm going to place 1 single crochet. I'm also going to put a stitch marker, so I guess that was technically accurate, even though it was what I wanted to say. Now, anytime I use square brackets in this project, whether you're following along with the video or you're following along with the written version, square brackets indicate that you will put everything within those square brackets in the same stitch. So in the next stitch, I'm going to put a single crochet, a double crochet, and a single crochet next to that, all within that same stitch. My brain was like, nope, you're not going to finish that stitch. Okay, then we're going to do a single crochet next to that in this next stitch. Next to that, another single crochet, double crochet, single crochet in the same stitch. Then we're going to do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So single crochet there, single crochet there. The next stitch will have a single crochet and a double crochet in the same stitch. Next stitch will have 2 double crochets in it. Next stitch, double crochet and a single crochet. So that is the end of round 2. You can see that it starts to have this slight triangular shape to it. I'm gonna leave the magic ring not as pulled tight as it is gonna be at the end right now, because it doesn't really matter, because I'm gonna have to keep retightening it until I finish the project. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it like it is, but do what you want with that. Next, we're going to start round 3. So I'm going to place a single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, marking that first stitch of the round. Then in the same stitch, all in the same stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet, a double crochet, a chain 1, a double crochet, and a single crochet. So all of that goes in the same stitch, and that's going to give it's going to give the first leg, I'm calling them, of the insignia. So that's going to be the longer leg of the two. Then I'm going to place a slip stitch in the next stitch. Now, oftentimes when we do slip stitches and patterns, when we go around and work the next round, we're not going to work any more stitches into it. With this one, we will be placing another slip stitch into it in the next round. So just so you know that will count. Then we're going to put in the next stitch a bunch of stitches. We're going to start with a single crochet. We're going to put a double crochet in there as well. Then I'm going to do a picot stitch, and I'm going to do it 3 times, one for each point. This corner is a little bit darker, so it can be a little bit difficult to show, but I'm going to show you how I can do it as best I can. So to do picot, you're going to chain 2, and then we're going to insert, when this loop is on our hook, we're going to insert into the top side of the double crochet as my hook is showing now. Once we have inserted our hook, we're going to yarn over, we're going to pull the yarn through both the stitch at the side of the stitch and the loop that is on our hook. So we're going to slip stitch through all of that, and that's going to create a nice little point that's going to look really good for our badge. So I have it on my hook, yarn on my hook, insert in the side closest to me, yarn over, pull through, and pull through to do a slip stitch, and that's going to create a nice little picot there for you. We can do a double crochet in that same stitch we were working on, and a single crochet. All of that will be there, and that is the second leg of the insignia. Then I'm going to do a single crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. Because we put so many stitches within this one stitch, it does kind of cover it a little bit, so if you're having trouble finding the right stitch, you can pull open your work a little bit to know that right here is where you should place that first single crochet of the series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like that. Then I'm going to do a single crochet and a half double crochet in the same stitch. In the next stitch, I'm going to do a double crochet, picot, so we're going to chain 2 again. We're going to go into the side of that double crochet right there. It's a little bit easier to see with that lighter yarn. Yarn over, pull through everything on your hook. So that's going to create that little nub that will ultimately create that little point that we're going to use. In the same stitch that we put the double crochet picot into, we're going to put another double crochet. Then I'm going to do a half double crochet, single crochet in the same stitch, and 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So it will look something like this. Okay, so now that we have finished round 3, we're going to work on round 4. So we're going to start out by doing 5 single crochets. So I'm going to move my stitch marker up, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in the same stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet, and this is in that chain space that we created on the previous round. So single crochet, double crochet, picot, so chain 2. Again, we're going to be going into the side of that double crochet, the side closest to us, so right where that hook is. So we're going to take our yarn, have it fitted to our hook, go into the side, yarn over and pull through everything on the hook, just like that, to create a little nub. And then we are going to do a double crochet and a single crochet. Then we're going to start our slip stitches all the way around. So I did split it between what is in round 4 before the stitch marker and what is after the stitch marker, so that'll help us keep track a little bit better. But basically the whole point is you want to do slip stitches all the way around. You want to do 2 in every picot, 1 for every chain that you have. So we're going to go around, and this is going to be 23 slip stitches, including the slip stitch that you did in the previous round. So now that we are at a picot, I'm going to go into that chain space. So there's 2 chains there. So I'm going to go in and do a slip stitch. Why can't I talk? Right there. And then I'm going to find that other. This can be a little bit difficult to see and kind of like navigate around. So just take your time. Try not to split the yarn if you can help it. You can bring the yarn towards you, and this kind of changes the way it looks a little bit. I find it looks a little bit neater like that, but whatever works for you. And then do that slip stitch right there, and then keep going. Into every stitch we're going to put a slip stitch. And like I said earlier, this is where you don't want to pull your tension crazy tight, otherwise you're going to have your shape curl up quite a bit. So try to keep it even if you can. This will also help your stitches look better, as they'll look evenly sized, which it's pretty obvious how the stitches look now, because they're a different color than what's behind them, but when you're working with a solid color, it's less noticeable. So here I'm at another picot, so I'm going to go and go under one of the chains, where I'm going to try to, because I'm having a moment right now, of course. So there's one chain, do my slip stitch, and try not to pull it super tight. Try to have that like moderate tension. And then there's the other chain that I'm going to do my slip stitch through. Next stitch, we're going to go just like that. So for me, that is 23. Just get it looking to the point that you want it to look. Now I'm going to finish my shape off by doing 11 slip stitches, and again with 2 in the picot here, and I'm basically going to go until I reach the first slip stitch that I did in the previous round, because the slip stitches were just kind of that finishing detail, so you're not going to need to keep going. As you try to enter the stitch, it's very obvious what is a slip stitch, because you can get your hook in, but it's not like an easy fit like a normal stitch would be. Okay, so so now I'm at the picot, and this luckily is a little color. The color changes between the first chain and the second chain, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to show. So that green is this green chain is the first chain, so I'm going to go underneath it, grab my yarn, and do my slip stitch there. And then this like yellow green one right here is my second chain. And if you kind of fiddle with a little bit, once you get the right spot, it's pretty evident on where you should be. Then I'm going to pull through, slip stitch, and then I'm going to keep going around after that picot. And if you remember, we put all of these stitches into the same stitch right here, and then immediately after did our slip stitch. So this stitch right here is where that slip stitch was, and we don't need to keep slip stitching around and around and around. That's where we'll end right after we get all of the stitches that were in that kind of cluster of stitches. So what you do next is you're going to take your yarn, and just for a general idea, you can cut it however long you want, but to sew it in, kind of get 3 times the perimeter of the insignia and cut it there. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull your yarn through, and you're going to sew in your badge to whatever you want to sew it to, whether it's a costume, whether it's I don't know, I keep on saying headband, I keep on thinking that would be really cute, or a hat, anything like that. Also, another reason why I like to keep my tail a little bit long around my magic circle is because I think that this is a good anchor point for the center, and you'll reinforce the strength of the magic circle in holding its shape there. So that's how to do the largest one. So let's go on to the next size. Okay, so now I'm going to focus on the large pet size, and again, that's just like me labeling it for any kind of reference. You can use it for whatever you want. We're going to start this one in a magic ring as well, with a 4.5 millimeter hook. Okay, maybe I can't make a magic ring right now. Trying to do things fast because I don't have a lot of storage on my phone right now, so if it's a mess, I apologize. Okay, so now we're going to do a bunch of different stitches into the magic ring. So we're going to start out with a single crochet, and the chain up that we did to make the single crochet, or sorry, to make the magic ring does not count for anything. So we're doing a single crochet, we're going to do a double crochet after this. Then we're going to do 2 single crochet, and just like anytime you're working with something that has a magic ring in the in the pattern, you can do a small chain, connect them, and work into the chain if you prefer that method. I just wanted something that I could tighten up really well, and I just never have luck with tightening up the small chains. If you have better luck with that, like chaining 2, 3, 4, whatever, if that works for you, go for it. I just like how tight the magic ring is. So after the 2 single crochet, we're going to go and do another double crochet, then 3 single crochet, just like that, 2 double crochet, and 2 single crochet, just like that. And then we're going to tighten up our magic ring, and you'll notice that it already has that triangular shape that we are going to start as our base for our badge. So we are going to start row 2. We are going to put a single crochet into our first stitch, which was also a single crochet. So if you're having trouble knowing which place to put your stitch, it will be in the single crochet. Placing my stitch marker for the round. In the next stitch, so that double crochet that we did, we're going to place 2 single crochets, a double crochet, then a single crochet, and a slip stitch, all in that same space. And we are going to place a slip stitch in the next round in the same slip stitch. So just so you know, you don't have to look out for that. Just treat it as a normal stitch. I just needed it to kind of pull the leg inward a little bit. Then in the next stitch, we're going to place another slip stitch. I keep on wanting to say something completely different that's wrong, so do as whatever the screen says, not as what I say. So after that slip stitch, in the next stitch we're going to put a bunch of different stitches as well. So we're going to put a single crochet, a double crochet, we're going to do another picot, so chain 2, go into the side of that double crochet, grabbing both of the legs right there, yarn over, pull through the double crochet and pull through what you have remaining on your hook, so you do a slip stitch through all of that. Then in the same stitch as we've been working in, double crochet and single crochet, all right there. So just jam a bunch of stitches in there. Then we have 4 single crochet, so again, make sure you're going to the correct stitch. So all of the stitches just went here, and we're going to go right here, right next to it, to put the first single crochet of that series. 2, 3, 4, like that. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet, a double crochet, so we're building height right here at the top of the insignia. And then we're going to start a picot, so we're going to do 2 chains and go into the side of the stitch, yarn over, pull through everything on your hook. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do our double crochet and a half double. And then to finish the round, we're going to put 2 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So this is what it looks like so far. You can see that I didn't pull my magic ring that tight, so it's open a little bit. I find that this one, because there's more stitches in the center, this is the one that's less tight in the magic ring. If you're using this one and you're sewing it to anything, just keep that in mind, that you might want to leave a longer tail to make sure that that's really sewed up nice and tight. Now we are moving on to round 3. And we're doing 4 single crochets. Okay, and then we have, after we've done the 4 single crochet, we're gonna, in the same stitch, we're gonna do a single crochet, we're gonna do a double, we're gonna do a picot, and then we're gonna do a double crochet, and a single crochet. And then we're going to do the process of doing the slip stitches all the way around. Like I said, in for the previous row, we're going to put a slip stitch into that slip stitch that we did last round, just because I feel like it needed something to kind of both pull the little legs of the patch together, but also push them away a little bit so they didn't just kind of fold into one. So do that in the middle, And also in the next slip stitch, we're gonna go in and do another slip stitch. And then I'm gonna go around just like with the previous pattern for the larger one. We're gonna put 2 slip stitches in every picot. Or we're gonna try to. That's not the right place. Now, if you really don't like the way that the slip stitches look, you could find a way to do them on the back side of it, and then it would just look kind of like this running stitch on the side. But I find that it actually cleans it up so nicely that I prefer it, you know, on this side of the work. So that's a possibility if you just don't really like the way it looks. Hopefully you like it, because I wrote this pattern for people to like. Well, I wrote it for myself in crystal, and then hopefully you like it. I don't just seek approval, just mean sometimes a little bit, but never mind. I'm just digging a hole of like self-deprecation, aren't I? So this is what it looks like at the end of round 3. And then I'm just going to complete this with 10 more slip stitches. And just like sewing up the other one, you have options of how long you want to keep things. Again, with this one, I would suggest definitely having a longer tail when you start out. That magic ring, so that you can sew both the ring up really well, and you can sew it to whatever you're attaching to well. And right here is where we have the slip stitch, so you can really feel that the hook doesn't really want to go there. You can also count it out, and you'll see that that's where we want it to end up. So this is what the large pet size, or whatever you want to call it, the medium size, looks like when we work it up in the Mexicana yarn. And then let's try the last size. Okay, so now I'm going to do the mini, the pet size, the smallest size, however you want to talk about it. So with this one, I'm going to actually switch hook sizes to a 3.5 millimeter. With any of these designs, you can switch the hook size, you can switch the yarn size. I've been using a 4-weight yarn for all of this, but if you wanted to do something smaller, larger, all of that is within your power. You can scale the hook size accordingly. So I'm going to start with a magic ring with this, just like all of them. Okay, so we're going to do a single crochet, then a double crochet, then a chain 1, a double crochet. This yarn is splitting a little bit more because I've done all my samples on this. Then I'm going to be doing 2 single crochet, double crochet, chain 2 for the picot, and then going into the side of the double crochet, and slipping through as a slip stitch. I made that way too tight, but it'll be fine. Then a double crochet, two single crochet, I'm gonna take this tail and kind of untwist it a little bit. Okay, after the two single crochet, I'm gonna be doing a half double crochet. And just like with the last one, there's a lot of stitches going into the magic ring, so you'll want to have your tail longer when you're gonna sew it in. And so I just did my half double crochet, and I'm gonna do a double, do a picot, so chain two, go into the side, stitch like that, double crochet, half double, and then single crochet. Okay, so all of that went into the magic ring, but once I close it like this, you can see that we kind of have that beginning of that triangular shape that we're going to use. Okay, two single crochet, and this will be on top of that single crochet that we did first. I'm just going to use my stitch marker. Two single crochet, so this is my second. Then in the next stitch, I'm going to do, and this is in where the chain space is, single crochet, double crochet, picot into the side of double crochet, and double crochet in that same stitch. Make sure you don't split your yarn into pieces like I did. That's probably the worst one to do after you've manipulated this yarn 1.5 million times, but it is what it is. And then I'm going to do 14 slip stitches. Why am I having such a hard time saying slip stitch? I'm going to be doing slip stitches all the way around. And remember, you're going to want to put 2 slip stitches in those picot chains. Get that in the right spot there. Okay, so that's what that is looking like so far. And you can use your fingers to kind of manipulate it, pull it into the shape that you want. Okay, and then I have 7 slip stitches left to have slip stitch all the way around. And I'm also going to show you how I like to sew it up to look nice and neat. You can sew your piece however you want, but this is how I like to do mine. And this is where that first single crochet, slip stitch, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not good at this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the yarn. I'm gonna cut it a little bit shorter than I would if I were gonna sew it in, just because I want to show you how I would do it. Okay, so now that I've finished slip stitching around the edge, I'm going to show you how I would sew in the ends. And I'm going to cut a little bit shorter. I'm just going to cut shorter than what I was going to do, what I would do if I was going to sew this in, just so I can show you what it looks like. But just like with every other one, I would suggest having this one be 3 times the perimeter length, and then having a fairly long middle tail that you had for your magic ring, so that you can sew that in. Make sure that's nice and tight. So what I did is at my last stitch, I just pulled out my hook, so the yarn has been pulled through. Now for sewing in ends, anytime I have to sew anything, I prefer these bent metal needles, but whatever works for you, you can always use that. So I'm going to thread this. So what I like to do to kind of help me make sure I go into the right stitch is I'll take the yarn and I'll pull it in the direction of that the stitches were going, right? So they were going counterclockwise, so that's where I'm going. And in the next stitch that they would be going into, I'm going to go in from the side that's closest to me, go under both parts of the stitch that are on top, and I'm going to go through. So I go through that, and I come through, and instead of going through the loop that I just made, I'm actually going to go a stitch behind that, from furthest away from me to closest. And sometimes it's a little difficult if you split your yarn, or if these slip stitches are a little tight. So pulling it just like that, if you pull it a little tighter, you can see that that stitch just starts to blend in with everything around it. Now, because these are slip stitches, they don't have a lot of bulk to them, just due to the nature of them being slip stitches. So, so I tried to not sew in my ends too much into the surface of the slip stitch. So what I'll do is I'll go through the bottom of the stitch there, and I'll move all of my stitching to the back, because that's where everything can be hidden, because in it just doesn't have a lot of space to add that bulk of your sewn in ends. And then you can sew it in however you want, you know, I'm just putting it whatever. But yeah, that's how I like to sew in my ends, so that it looks neater, and it doesn't, I mean, in this, it's really obvious that, you know, as the colors change and stuff, where the yarn is going, but it doesn't add any volume there, and the stitches look relatively uniform. So hopefully that helps you sew in the ends, and you can make your insignias in multiple different sizes now. So this is what it looks like all in one color. You can see that it looks quite a bit different, you know. So but yeah, that's what I found works best. And yeah, so I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to have the written pattern up on my blog, so if you have any questions, you can let me know, and I'll be happy to help. Also, if you feel like there's any parts that maybe are a little redundant, or they're making it harder, or any feedback, I will always welcome, because I think the pattern can always be better. Or if you think, if you find a true purpose for this middle size, let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you live long and prosper. Bye. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ian is a Weirdo. Today I'm going to be showing you 3 different sizes and how to make them of Star Trek. Oh, fuck, that sucked. Okay. Weirdo. Today I'm going to show you how to make 3 different sizes of the Starfleet insignias that you can add to any costume, whether it's yours because you're a human, or a little tiny one for pets. Really, any of these you can put them wherever you want. That's how free will goes. That is dumb. I apologize. Sometimes these intros, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Now, I made these to go to be a companion to Crystal Hook That Yarn's Starfleet. Wow, my brain is just not doing it right now, exactly where the stitches are placed. So I'll be using that, and yeah, I didn't turn my volume off on my computer either, because I planned very poorly, because this is the 3rd time I've had to film this exact part, so sorry about that. Let's just pretend it didn't happen. I'm so popular. I hate this so much, but I'm tired of recording it, so this is gonna make the final cut, I'm sure. Okay, so let's get into making.
You wanna, dude, just do voiceover. Write down what you're going to say, and then say it exactly like what you want to say it like. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Ian is a Weirdo. Today I'm going in part 4 of the Star Trek blah 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 series that me and Chris are doing together. I am making the insignia for the Star Trek fleet, and here it goes. What you're gonna need is yarn. Here's some options. Option number 1 is this size, and you bring out your tape measure, and then option number 2 and option number 3. Human being. Be like, hi, welcome back to another episode of Ian is a Weirdo, and then stop. In today's video, we'll be making the Star Trek insignia. Stop. Crystal made me do this. Stop. I'm about to block her. Stop.